Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett for Weaver Leather Supply, and this is the Leather Element. If you've got a good question for us or a good idea for a Leather Element, drop it in the comment box below. Also, if you want to know when our videos release, just click your notifications. You'll know exactly when these come out. So I've always heard mechanics say it's all about the tools, and I agree fully, but I'd like to add to that, it's all about the tricks as well. That's what's going to help us make the most professional project and have a good time doing it. All right, so we've got 5 tricks here. Let's see if these are going to help us out. One of the most frustrating and costly things in my shop is when any one of my liquids dry up. Very frustrating, and we've all done this. We've got a project. We've been working on it for days. All we have to do is add a top coat and assemble. We walk over to our die shelf, and our top coat has become a solid. Well, first off, the frustration level there, 100%, but we've also lost some money. So we've got some answers here. So with our die, I always store my die in the original bottle. Now I'm going to pour that in a bin. Whether I dip die or I'm going to use a sponge or a dauber, I need to be able to get to that die. Well, when we're done, let's just buy a cheap little funnel and return that to our original bottle. That is going to last and last, and we're not throwing away money there. One of our biggest culprits, contact cement. Now a production shop is going to mow through this. Us crafters, not so much. I may use some on this project, and I may not crack this open for a month, maybe 2. Well, what's going to happen? First off, our cap, and you've probably done this, our cap's going to glue itself to the main body here. And if you've ever used a pair of channel locks to get one of these off, you are not alone. But the bigger problem is that that's going to, with glue around that throat, it's going to start to create little air holes. So therefore, our glue is going to thicken up. Now, 2 tricks here. We've talked about this before, but this is glue thinner. This is one of the best friends a crafter has, because as my glue thickens up, I can add thinner to it. Because of that, we can use this bottle of glue right down to the very end. Now, these are all flammable, so we need good ventilation there. But where I'm going with this, deglazer, one of the most helpful liquids in our shop, particularly right here. So I'm going to take a little deglazer, and let's just clean the throat of our bottle or our jar when we're done with our glue. Now, we've got a good secure seal, but also the next time we go to open this, we don't have to fight to try to get that cap off. Leather balm, one of my absolute favorites, but I tell you what, this will go south on us in about 72 hours. Now, when we get it, we've got this nice little seal on top, but I always peel that off and throw it away. I've always thought about keeping that, but here's an easy route to go. Let's just take some simple plastic wrap, stretch that over the throat of the bottle. Let's put our cap back on. That balm is going to be good for years and years. Now, don't hold me to years and years, but it is going to last. One thing I love, mason jars, or really just any kind of a jar. We're always throwing away jars like pickle jars or relish jars. Well, let's clean those out. Because they're made for food, the seal on that is going to last for years. So there's my leather balm right there. I don't know how long this has been in that jar, but I can tell just by looking at it, still good. And these are great for our dye mixes. In fact, that's our antique with our Angelus dye, or our neutral antique with my Angelus dye. It's one of my favorites. But jars are a great way to store our liquids, so we can save time, money, and frustration. This is not a top-notch trick or tip, but it's a big help to me in my shop. This is our pattern sheeting. Makes a great liner to go under our dies. Well, here's the problem, and we see this in every video. We could dye an entire project, and we've got dye on nothing but our gloves, our project, and our paper. Storing our dyes, totally different situation. In fact, your dye bottles look just like mine. Well, having a good liner is going to keep me from trashing my shop fixtures. But also, when this gets rough, oh, and I promise you it will, we can toss this, put a new piece down, and we're out $1. But our shop looks clean and tidy. Now, all told, I just reserve this for my dyes, my antiques, my mixes. Something like our top coats, adhesives, not such an issue. But also, if you're new to leathercraft, say you're working on your kitchen table or coffee table, which is exactly where I started. Let's get a good, cheap plastic toolbox for our liquids. So if we have a bad spill, it's not even going to be an issue. So therefore, we're not going to trash, say, our coffee table, kitchen table, or the shelves where we keep our tools. And if we've got a spouse, right there alone, that's going to keep us out of trouble. We've seen this before, but it's in a relatively older video, and it's a little tough to find, but it's something that really tripped me up in the beginning, but it's easy to do, and we can do so many things with it. What I'm talking about here is how do I consistently space bells or conchos or stamps on a strap. It's easy to do. So let's use a belt as an example. So on my belt, right here on my buckle side, I've got my inside hole. On my sizing holes, I've got my inside hole. The distance between those two, 30 inches. I've got 5 conchos I want to drop on this belt, okay? So let's take 30 divided by 5. Well, that's 6. So I need a concho at 6-inch increments. Nice. Well, that looks good. Best part, I've got a consistent distance from my start to my first concho, between each concho, but also from my last to my stop. Very professional, very balanced. Well, here's our problem. Yeah, we've got one concho left over because we're not accounting for our stop. So let's add one more on anything we're doing. Let's add one more than we need. So we're at 30 inches. Let's divide not by 5, but by 6, okay? That's 5 inches. So let's drop a concho in at 5-inch increments. Well, there we go. Perfect. Consistent distance all the way across. So just divide by one more than we need. And like I said, we can use it in so many places. I've got exactly 6 bells I want to place on a strap. Or I've got braid designs, recurring designs, stamps, or spots. Again, so many ways we can go with this, but let's just divide by one more than we need. Wet forming leather, one of my favorite techniques in leather craft, hands down. There are so many utility and creative things we can do here. A simple wet formed keeper is a very professional touch. Right here, this is a pocket for a pouch. Well, I can add a form on top of a form, so I can get my pocket and a decoration molded all at one time. Well, we're going to talk about the materials to make our forms, and you'll see where I'm going with this. So I love the wood. This makes a great form both for keepers and pockets. But the problem is, say we live in an apartment or we don't have woodworking tools. There's an easy way around this. Well, leather actually makes a pretty good mold. I can take scrap, multiple plies, contact cement this together, and that actually makes a pretty solid form. Here's the problem here. Well, if we're just doing one project on that, in fact, that's just a pin pocket for a briefcase. Well, if we're doing one project on it, no problem. But as we do multiple projects, this is leather. It's going to get wet too. So what's going to happen is our edges are going to soften. They're going to round, and we're not going to get a good crisp form out of that. How about we do this? Let's kill all these problems at one time by using materials that we're used to using in our shop. This is our pattern sheeting. And again, we're back to this. Great material in our shop, like I said. But let's take our scrap leather. Let's put multiple plies together. And in fact, for a keeper, I'm going to use 2 8-9s and a 4 to 5 ounce. Well, let's top that and back that with our pattern sheeting. So now my edges are not going to soften. But when we contact cement that together, that's almost as strong as wood. Yeah, nice mold there. And again, we can go in any direction with this. So this is a pouch pocket. I've got my pattern sheeting on top, but I don't necessarily worry about that on the back because I'm going to be molding from the front. But again, we're going to use materials that we're used to using, and we can go so many ways. The tools, absolutely important, but the tricks, I almost think they're just as important. I hope there's something in here that's going to help you out in your shop. Thanks for taking time to watch The Leather Element. Good luck with your projects.